action. I ramble quite a bit, so I'm sorry about that. If that's something you don't, I'm sorry. I'm just really feeling myself. Take 2. This is annoying. Hello, hi, Miniano. If you're new here, hi, my name is Naa Momo, and this is the second episode of my book series called Books in a Beat, where I'll be reviewing African literature in a makeup look based on the cover of the book. Today, we're going to be talking about Akwaeke Emezi's Pet, which I think I read at a really interesting time because I read it at the end of the week before the NSAS protests started in Nigeria. So today's look is based, as always, based on the cover. I don't know if you can see very well, but there's like, first, graphic lineup. I have to practice more because this was a disaster. But yeah, the cover of the book is like a purple, like a pastel purple, and then Jam, the main character, is like on the front, and there's like reflections of gold, and there's browns and beiges. So I played off of those colors to give you this poorly executed graphic liner look. Not poorly executed because I did what I had to do and I did what I could, but you know. And the reflectiveness of my dress, which again you can't see because I'm sitting down, is based on, you know, the reflectiveness of the cover of the book, the reflectiveness of the other protagonist in the story. And this pair of earrings are supposed to be reminiscent of the purple on the cover, but they're like kind of clear and kind of dull, so you can't see it. But quite frankly, I'm giving you dinner date realness, and I give, you take. That's just what it is in this house. As usual, we're going to do a character overview, a look at the themes, and then I'll just round up with like cool stuff that I noticed in the procession of the plot. If you have any, you know, additional views, please don't be scared to leave them in the comments down below. I'd be so glad to have a conversation with you about this book because I thought it was phenomenal. So a little bit about the author. Akwaeke Emezi is a Nigerian author. This is their second book, I believe. The first one was Freshwater, the second was Pets, and then the third was The Death of Vivek Oji, which the other two I'm yet to read, but I don't know why I started with the second one. But Pet follows the encounter of Jam. Jam is our main protagonist with a creature from another dimension who she ends up calling Pet, and their quest to save her town from certain doom. Earlier in the plot, we understand the town that she's living in and why it's so great, and then when Pet comes into the picture, we understand just how important it is to save the town. Okay, the first character that I'm going to talk about obviously is Jam. Reading the book, I thought Jam was an image of what all children should be, you know, affirmed, loved for who they are, met where they need to be met, cherished, and just given the support that they need to come into their full self. And a prime example of this is the fact that when she was much younger and they realized that she wasn't one to speak very much, they learned how to sign language. They learned sign language just so they would be able to communicate with her. It's not like she can't speak, but she chooses not to, right? And so they respected that about her and made the necessary adjustments in their lives so that she wouldn't feel out of place. The next character that I'm going to talk about is Pet. Pet is from another dimension, and he was more or less called forth by Jam. The body of Pet was an interesting combination of otherworldliness and like familiarity with home, because he had there was a part of his being that was based on Jam's mother. It's faceless. It has, you know, feathers all over its body. My brain envisioned a centaur, like a centaur's construction with the feathers. Pet is faceless, like no eyes, no nose, just like a mouth. Further along in the plot, I thought that Pet was a very interesting representation of, you know, the concept of destiny, of a higher power visiting you and showing you your purpose. And at the end of the plot, I feel like Pet wasn't only here to guide Jam to embody her purpose, but also to teach her to settle into her resolve to be an empathetic person. But the next characters that I thought were pretty interesting were Bitter and Aloe. Bitter is Jam's mother and Aloe is Jam's father. Bitter's mom is from the islands and Bitter's father is Nigerian. He's Igbo. I think the way that the author wrote Jam's parents was a reflection of the kind of affirming parents that a lot of children deserve. Bitter and Aloe are affirming parents who are still human parents, who still fear for things for their daughter, will do their best to let her be, but at certain points they just have to put their foot down and, you know, say that no, this is not going to happen. And if we all know anything, it's when your parents say no that you even want to do the thing more. So the next person is Redemption. Redemption is Jam's best friend, and I thought his name was really cool. Redemption is a boxer. I think it was either written as he's a boxer or he's a fighter, but yeah, he's trained by his uncle. He has a lot of respect for his uncle, so that kind of, later in the plot, that matters. He loves his family to a fault, the family he was born into and the family that he's chosen, i.e. Jam. Because of that intense and blinding love, he doesn't see what exactly is happening until, you know, he hears it from the person it's happening to. Redemption's arc, while I was reading the book, made me think of the phrase "kill your idols," because the kind of blinding admiration that Redemption had for his uncle is the kind of admiration that a lot of us have for different people. And in having these great expectations and this great admiration for these people, we tend to forget that they're human and they make mistakes. And outside of the images that they have curated for us to consume, sometimes they're bad people. Redemption was interesting as a character to me because the situation that he found himself in, that Jam and Pet were helping him with, reminded me that a lot of the time it's necessary to refrain from seeing the people who guide you as anything other than people with knowledge, because when you start to deify them and hold them up and put them on a pedestal, when the realities come crashing in, it can really crush you. And the last person who I thought was interesting was a character called Glass. Glass is Redemption's mother's sister, so his aunt. And Glass was interesting for me because Glass was protecting the person in question who was doing the wrong thing. It's kind of reminiscent of people who stay in close contact with unrepentant abusers and try and weave them into your social setting. Okay, so themes. The very first theme, the most prominent theme, the most bass theme in the whole thing for me: audacity. The audacity of the author to write about a world where everybody who deserves to be safe is safe. Everyone in a marginalized group is assured that nothing bad will happen to them. A world where abusers of all types have been basically told to suck it. I guess this is why reading the book at the time I read it was so poignant for me, because the protests in Nigeria going on right now are the most audacious, because all the time we read about some of the incredibly crazy experiences that Nigerian people living in Nigeria have. And so for the youth at this point in time to say enough is enough, they've been protesting. I think today is the 5th day. They've been protesting for a few days, and every day they're on it, marching, dancing, but making the best of their situation by letting the people in charge know that your time is coming to an end and you need to give us what we're asking for, you know? And I think that's the kind of audacity that a lot of us need to embody. Sorry, it's a little sunny. 1 minute. Bringing audacity back into the plot of the book. Lucille and its angels having the audacity to change the inner workings of their community, collect the evil within their community and do away with it. The methods of which are also like under scrutiny a little bit in the plot. And just the audacity to live the life that they deserve in a system that has told them for so long that you don't deserve that, and even if you do, we're not gonna give it to you. The next theme that stood out to me was honesty. Bitter was the first point in the plot that made me think of honesty as a theme, because of how we learned about the reason for her name and how we come to understand that even though that's how and why she was named, she hasn't let that define her. She's acknowledged that that's why I'm named the way I'm named, but she's still honest to herself about who she is independent of that name. She may answer to it, but that's not who she is. That's not the whole of her. The next theme that I thought was pretty interesting was the concept of a higher calling. In many ways, I feel like Pet's mission as a creature from another dimension was a higher calling, because Pet interacted with Jam in a way that made me think he was a higher being. Pet brought to Jam her higher calling, her purpose. And initially, Jam was a little confused, a little scared. But like with all declarations and realizations of your purpose, you learn to lean into what you've been called to do despite your fear. And that coincidentally leads into my next point, which is the limitations of fear. The first way that the limitation of fear made itself clear to me in the plot was when Aloe sort of denied the possibility that evil could still exist in their town after they had wiped it all out. There was also Jam being scared of what Pet was telling her, what the implications of that were, and what that could mean for her town, her family, the people that she loves. The third thing was Jam and her parents realizing why Pet had come through to their dimension, and her parents deciding on their own that they didn't want her to be involved in that. I feel like her parents projected their fears onto her journey, and yeah, human reaction, totally standard, but a lot of the time fear limits them and their imagination of what could be possible, and you know, their willingness to try new things. And if that's expressed often enough to you, you will also internalize it. Even though Jam was limited by the fears of the people around her, mainly her parents, she learned to put that aside and still lean into her journey, which is something that I feel like we should all know how to do or learn how to do at some point. The last thing was when there was a point in the plot where Jam had to tell Redemption about what was going on and why Pet was in their dimension, basically. She knew that if she wasn't completely honest with him, the blowback later would be bad. But she went ahead and wasn't completely honest with him, and just as she predicted, the blowback was bad. That ties into the theme of honesty, but it's also relevant to fear because she was keeping those details from him from a place of fear. Some of the cool stuff in the plot I thought it was really cool that Jam lives in a house that she can feel through, like she can feel the whole house. It's like me being able to tell who is walking in my house based on their footsteps times a million. I thought it was really cool that Redemption has 3 parents and we don't quite know the dynamic of his parents, but then again, is it really our business? All in all, wonderful story. It was didactic in a refreshing way, and I feel like everybody needs to read this book. Again, I haven't been reading enough to be able to tell you what the story reminded me of, which story this reminded me of, but books set in the future or literature set in the future isn't usually set in a future that is totally safe for everybody. There's always some segregation, some lack, some poverty somewhere. None of that is mentioned here. And that was really refreshing to me. Granted, there was an element of evil, but the setting within which that evil was made it very, 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 very likely that that evil would have been expelled. It didn't take you on a roller coaster of emotions thinking, oh my god, are they going to catch this person, blah, blah, blah. It just didn't, and I thought that was great. I tried my best not to give you too many spoilers because I do want you guys to go ahead and read these books. Thank you so very much for watching, for liking, for commenting, for sharing, and for subscribing. I hope to be able to bring you more very, very, very soon. So I'll see you in the next one. Bye.